Ba-doo-doo-boo-boo. Ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-boo-boo-boo. Doo-doo-doo-doo-boo. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Ba-ba-doo-ba-ba-bum. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Curt with Smirk and Dagger once again. Welcome you to another edition of Smirky Inside. Um, very often I will go and take a look at what's going on behind the scenes, but today I'm actually going to kick off. First, I'll check our comment box, make sure I can see who's coming in. But honestly, I've been playing couple games, and I was I'm sure you guys played games the last couple days. I did too. And I actually I I broke out some games that have been on the shelf of shame, still in the shrink wrap, waiting for me to finally have a chance to play. And I was able to bust out two yesterday. I was really excited to do so. Oh, hey Colin, how are you? I see you stopped by just in time for the intro music. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I was actually going to compose a bit of music, and then I just think me humming is probably, I don't know, it's me. So anyway, so what was on my shelf of shame that I finally cracked open? Well, Holy was the first game that I brought out yesterday, and one of the reasons that I picked this game up is because I was so impressed with the table presence. I don't know. Does it have a box? Yeah. Okay. So it's got this great multi-level board with clear plates, which they did with blow molded plastic. It was absolutely a brilliant way to put this board together. It's attractive, it's easy to take up and down, and the gameplay was so much thinkier and more interesting than I thought it might be. So I really enjoyed Holy, and so did everyone else. So yes, and Colin, if you haven't tried it, by all means do so. It's pretty damn cool. What else did we do? Well, this was not on my shelf of shame. This is actually kind of a favorite of the household, and that's Quacks of Quedlinburg. Super enjoy this one, and I was a sucker for the BGG, parts, the really premium bits. In fact, I just ended. They just started making like these plastic cases to hold all the premium bits. I just ordered those too because I'm a sucker for the bits. So had a great time. We played like I think the highest tier spell book for the game. This past evening, and so yeah, some new wrinkles to the gameplay, and I think people like kind of mixing those spell books up. So do we. So all right, the last one that was on our playlist last night was there we go. Deep Blue by Days of Wonder, and so this is one that I had on the shelf for a bit, and it's a fun little kind of push your luck diving game, trying to grab all the treasure. And I think what I really enjoyed about it was they got a mechanic where when you initiate a dive, if people are like one space away, they can like leap in and like try to get a piece of that dive experience. Even though they don't control it, they could benefit from it. And I thought it was a fun time. I really enjoyed the mechanics, yeah, it was I think just the right weight for the people I had here at the house. So perfect. Had a great time. All right. Colin says, "Oh, he's still needing those bits. I got for Quacks. I've got the ones for Orleans, and I can just imagine how good they are. They feel amazing. And I think because you're reaching in the bag and it's so tactile. I mean, the cardboard bits that come with the game are fabulous, but I just love clinking around and just the feeling. I think it enhances play so much. So." Anyway, so yeah, so that's how things went with our taking down a few titles off of the shelf of shame. Now I can say I've played those. Of course, what I do a lot of, obviously, is I play a lot of prototypes. In fact, I'm testing 2 or 3 right now. been enjoying, and I'm looking at a lot of different pitches. In fact, I'm also, judging a couple awards competitions for designers as well. So looking at a bunch of new games. Um, but in terms of the games that we have in house that we are developing, we are moving forward on. Well, so last time I gave you kind of a snapshot of what our year looks like, at least the front end of it. And so one of the things that we've been working on is a game called Boop. I did a little bit more work on that this past week. So let's just take a quick look. There we go. So, I mean, it's super adorable, right? But yeah, Boop is actually a very clever abstract strategy game, and it's adorable, but it's pretty thinky, and I think it actually makes a terrific follow-on product to our favorite game here, Shobu. So now, one of the things that I've been trying to do this past week is really trying to nail down what the final execution of the game is going to be. I'd always wanted this game. It's such a fun idea of cats jumping on the bed and dislodging the other cats off of the bed, that I really wanted that, a fabric board that looked like a quilted blanket, and that looks like we're gonna be able to do that pretty easily. But there are 32 different pieces, both adult cats and kittens, 8 in each color. So 32 plastic molded bits turns out is kind of a budget crunch thing. So at first I was going to, fully paint them, and that looks like you pay like $60 for your game, and nobody wants that. So we're trying a bunch of different ideas. I want it to be a little bit more than like a solid color plastic. So right now I'm thinking about, like a two-tone, kind of swirled plastic, just to give some kind of interest. So like here in this picture, you can see like, there's a almost like gray striping or patches on one cat, and same thing with the orange. I think it just gives up maybe just a little bit more interest. But in any case, that's kind of what I've been working on. Mostly a budgetary thing, because the rules are set, the gameplay is great, and it's really just trying to nail down exactly how I want to present it when it actually comes out this coming year. So, oh, Brian, hey, how are you? Good to see you out there. Thank you. Yeah, he says, yeah, it is adorable. I love it. Well, thank you. It is. It's just a lot of fun too. I think it's going to be easy for people to like look at the cover and say, oh, is this just a pure like kids game? We're trying to keep like the colors fairly dark in that background, because it's really, I mean, it's an abstract strategy. It's for us. So adorable, but still meaty. And then let's see. Ceramic is where it's at. Well, ceramic. Well, sure. We'll make 32 ceramic pieces, Colin. Both for cheap construction and shipping logistics. Sarcasm. There we go. Okay. Sarcasm. Thank you. And yes, so Brad, Boop is super thinky. And the reason why is because all the pieces repel each other on the board when you place them on, and that's how you bounce cats out of the bed. But it's like herding cats, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to line up 3 in a row to graduate into full adult cats, and then to win. But it's hard to actually make that happen, especially when your opponent's trying to bounce you out of the bed as well. So yeah, it's a chin scratcher. So look forward to that. Hey, Heather's out there. Hello, good to see you, Heather. Thanks for stopping by. So anyway, yeah, so that's kind of what we've been doing with Boop. I did update the cover just a little bit, and put some more finishing touches on like that background. But I was actually having a conversation, and feel free to chime in on the comments below. Obviously, when you first look at this game, yeah, it doesn't necessarily hit you like, oh, this is a strategy game. Now, there's good sides and bad side to that. One, people who buy it just for cats, or for a gift, or just for something that looks fun, they're going to be delighted that it actually has a real game behind it, and it is a pretty compelling gameplay. On the other hand, um, you know, if you're like a serious abstract player, maybe you overlook it unless you start hearing about it. So, I mean, there are lots of different ways I could take the cover. You know, I could actually put the game on the front of the box, just like Shobu did. But I just didn't feel like it would have like the same kind of emotional punch or want you to make it pick up and read the box. And I may on the top of the box say something like from the makers of Shobu to kind of clue people in. But yeah, so Rob, you're right. Hey, Rob, good to see you out there. He thought it was no more than monkeys jumping on the bed, which I think thematically that's kind of where it's at. It's just that the gameplay is actually compelling. It is an actual great abstract strategy. Brad says maybe put glasses on the cats to make them look more thinky. Well, that's actually a pretty funny idea. I'll take a look. And Heather says, I missed the opening. The opening. Oh, sorry. It's just a 2-player game. It is absolutely it's a head-to-head 2-player mental combat, trying to get your pieces in position and knocking your opponent pieces, off of the bed, essentially. And Colin says that the last video from a couple weeks ago that mentioned the game got shared in an abstract strategy group on Facebook. Oh, thank you, Colin. I did not see that. That's great. I'll have to go check that out and see what kind of comments there were. But anyway, yeah, so, we're still kind of like working through all the particulars, but I've been very happy so far with where things are proceeding. And I'm getting a whole bunch of different quotes in from printers trying to nail down the finals. Heather. So yes, the plan is to have it be available direct to retail this year. My guess is kind of like a July, maybe August timeframe, if all goes well. And Brian says, I like that it's a 2-player game. So many games are, even if technically playable 2, are optimized for 3 or more. And that's true of most of my games too, obviously. But you're right. This is absolutely just for 2 players. And it's actually a whole field of games that I think is getting a lot more attention, probably because of COVID, probably because, there are more couples playing, more just like, you're not getting out as much, you're not seeing as many people. So, what can we do right here in the house? And so 2-player games are obviously a lot more compelling. And of course, when they're built for 2 players, so much the better, to your point. Hey, Justin, how are you? Good to see him. Yeah, and you're right. It is fun. So it looks fun, but the good news is it's also super fun and thinky to play. But a lot of you have stopped by because I have teased the fact that I'm going to be doing a dramatic reading here in a moment. So what is that all about? Well, I come from, let me get our camera back on here. Okay. I come from a background that's marketing, promotion, advertising, that kind of thing. And so I very often would create storyboards for ads and other things. I worked in the film industry for a while. But in any case, I probably do a lot more work on my Kickstarter videos as a game company owner than probably a lot of others do. Certainly those I have worked with who have actually brought these visions to life have remarked to me that I've taken, I guess, a lot of the fun out of it, because I'm like, here, this is my vision. And on the other hand, it makes it a lot easier. And I'm also like really so open to all the creative input that that these folks have, because this is like a rough thumbnail. It'll look a lot more finalized, but it really is a rough thumbnail. And I tell them that too. There's a better way to do everything in here, but this was, a guiding principle on what I want my next Kickstarter video to look like. So I created 65 different images in Photoshop and kind of strung them together. And I'm going to flip through them as I do a dramatic reading of the script. And it's going to be filled with stutters and pauses because it's, I'm doing it live and reading off of a sheet rather than, having this professionally done. But it's going to kind of feel like an animatic where, you'll get a sense for what this final video is going to be. And I do that basically for the video folks, one, to start preparing the assets they'll need, and also to kind of give them a glimpse into my mind's eye. So with that, I am now going to switch over here and try to get this going. I will need to share my screen. Okay. There we go. Okay. So is everyone ready? I don't know if I am. You know what? I'm going to take a sip of something. Clear my palate here. Me. Okay. So let me just get this over here. Make sure we're ready. We are. Okay. All right. So my idea is that we'll be coming up from black, and we'll be looking at this first image of one of our battle mages, and there'll be some kind of magical little things going on, to bring a little energy and vitality to what's essentially a still image. And by the way, the people who do this, and they're able to actually animate things that are a piece of flat art. That's amazing to me. I think it's fabulous. I can't do it, but I really appreciate those who can. All right, so I'm thinking it's going to be a narrator, probably a woman in her 30s or 40s, maybe with an English accent. So we'll see how it goes. So, up from black. You came seeking knowledge and power. You will find ample supply of both. Such magics can exact a heavy price, even unto your ruin. Choose a magical discipline and battle for supremacy in your craft. Unleash curses and counter curses, sending your hexes from opponent to opponent. Enhance them. Morph their powers and detonate them upon your foe. Conjure new spells from the wheel, tailoring your arcane arsenal with even more powerful attacks and defenses. But be wary, for conjuring requires a sacrifice of your defenses and even your own will. More dangerous magics will tempt you with the promise of victory, but come with painful penalties. Will the magics you dare command seal your opponent's fate, or will you become BEHEXT? Power has its price. So that's it. It's basically, a minute long kind of an intro video. It gives you just a little bit of the flavor of the game, shows you some of the visuals, kind of shows you even some of the flow of what you'll be doing during the game. And again, all 65 of those images I just ran through were provided as a guideline, as a tool to help the animator envision what this game is. Obviously, I know the game extremely well, but they're coming in cold. So hopefully this helps set the tone and get all the details done. Some comments. Oh, Brian, thank you. He says, well performed. And Heather thinks we've done a cool job. So cool. Yeah. So anyway, that is what you saw. Now, what you might not have been able to figure out because I was busy talking through the script. Now we can kind of go through and I can talk about what's actually happening if it wasn't painfully clear already. All right, there we go. So as I said, we've got kind of like little magical sparkles and things happening here. And now some of the cards from the game, like a stream of leaves, are going to flow into the scene and right across. And then we follow one of those cards Conjure, as we track alongside, we follow that into the next scene, so that it creates a wipe between first mage and the second mage, because it now enters and exits out the side of the screen, and we see this glowing sigil on the hand. And it will essentially flare and turn into a magical dagger. When we're talking about the power that you're trying to wield here. And of course the dagger starts to spin and comes towards you, and then it rakes across the screen and cuts the transition to black. Now the black starts dissipating in like a misty cloud, revealing the battle mage Ink, who, as you can see, is also made up of not more than mist. Now a card comes from the background and kind of swoops in. So now we're seeing the underside come up at us. And it is one of Ink's cards called Mimic, which now an inky coating starts covering Mimic, which the card it's actually supposed to copy other cards. So it turns into Wither, which is great for forcing people to discard. Now, Wither starts approaching the screen and aging, and then it decays. It probably is actually going to turn into dust rather than shattering, but it's then going to reveal the battle mage Wither. And of course, very much a necromancer here, with these strings of fate. So we start talking about, some of these magics can actually be kind of harmful to you. Now, you get to choose your own battle mage, and all of these are asymmetric with different unique powers. And we just kind of flip through the cards, 1, 2, 3, and then we land on the Embered. The Embered is all about burning cards from your deck. And so now we push into the frame, and we see a hex actually coming right towards Ember. So it's kind of mixing game and the fantasy of the game. And Ember holds out the hand, stops it midair, ignites the hex, and then shoots it off in another direction, which of course is really what the game is all about. It's about knocking hexes aside and sending him towards someone else. Now we actually go to the game table, and we see a hex coming in targeting the Aethermancer. Their hand comes up. They're going to now select a card they want to play. Now, this one actually requires you to change the hex permanently. So it's going to add a boost token, which you can see over in the lower right. So it comes up off of that stack, flies around the card, and eventually lands on the hex that it's going to be targeting. Then the hex, of course, moves on to the next player. And then the camera rolls around to the next player. And now we see it coming into the next player. Now, the silencer is not having any of it. They raise their hand up. They choose override. They're not even going to be targeted. They're going to redirect this without being targeted across the table instead, send it over to the Seether, where they have no cards in hand. Therefore, they have no defenses, and therefore it blows up and points are exchanged. Now, around this image, you saw this image up for a while as I was talking. The idea is that this is going to be a cyclone of cards flying around the Aether Mage, because Aether Mage is all about summoning these magics. And of course, this is a deck building game where you are conjuring new cards into your hand. So that's kind of what this is all about. And that's why Aether Mage is actually on the cover too. So now we actually look at what it's like to conjure a card. So there's a marked man over there that's going to fly up off of that deck. We're going to see, oh, okay, it's got it's five conjuring points. It's going to actually need to craft this thing. And so out of your hand, you're going to have to discard a total of 5 conjuring power in order to get that card in your hand. So now those disappear. They're discarded, but marked man goes right into your hand for immediate play. But yeah, there are a lot of these cards. It's interesting. The more chaotic, the more dangerous the cards are. Why would you want them? Well, you want them because they're worth victory points, and you're willing to deal with the negative effects, and hopefully it all turns out. And this, I just think it's fun, sliding in a bunch of the battle mages, dropping the wireframe BEHEXT, and then turning it right into the game box. And this will probably be like a full assembly of all the components in the box in the background, but without an actual 3D model, I was having a little trouble with that. So I'll I'll wait for the animator to help us with that. And we're going to be working with Onairo, George's company. They do amazing videos, so I'm really excited to start that partnership up. And this is it looks like our Kickstarter is now going to be pushed back just a couple weeks. I think it's now going to be March 1st. Reason for that is we've been waiting for our printed prototypes to come in from China, and we are still awaiting confirmation that they have been sent. So that's kind of pushed everything back. Hopefully, that's as far as back as we have to go, because I know we are all anxious here to go ahead and get this launched and get this into people's hands, because it's an amazing game. And we're going to be seeing in the next couple weeks a bunch of live playthroughs, how-to videos. We've got Dan King on board for that. A bunch of your other favorite content creators are going to be out there making playthroughs and overviews. So you can look forward to seeing all of that and getting the benefit of their 2 cents on what they think of it as well. But for me, I'm super excited about this game. It is a really strategic challenge on how to balance some potentially harmful aspects into your deck, how to manage chaos, and of course, are you going to be very specific in your asymmetric abilities as a mage? Are you going to focus on just conjuring, or are you going to blend and eventually be your own kind of mage? Because that's really what happens. You may start with a certain concentration of magic, but depending on what's available and what opportunistically you might want to be able to do right now, you can bring in all these other schools of magic, and you'll never really play the same mage twice in a game because your deck is all built on the fly. I hope you'll definitely stay tuned for all of that. And when we launch the page in a couple of weeks, hopefully you'll stop by and take a look at all that is going on. Oh, Heather, where do I get all creativity? I don't care. Just glad you do. I'm excited for this. Well, so this I actually can't take wholesale credit for. So I've got 3 members of my team. They're the folks that you very often see at conventions like Gen Con and Origins, some of which who have been with me forever, and they're family and friends. But 3 of them, Jonathan, Melody, and Greg, got together, looked at an older title of mine, actually my very first title, and they got really inspired with how to not just kind of update it, but whole scale change it. And this is what they ended up doing with it, creating this deck building mechanic into a game, turning it from more of a party style into much more of a strategy style game, which I'm embarrassed to say, I think they did a better job at building this game than I did the original. So I like the way this game plays far better. It's fun. It's it gives you great decisions to make, and I just like the constant variety that is made available to you. Plus, we got these 4 mastery packs that once you get comfortable with a whole bunch of the content, now all of a sudden you got a whole bunch of new stuff, new spells, a new battle mage, and even some new game mechanics. So yeah, it's exciting. So stay tuned for that. And Brian, sounds like you're also excited for the Kickstarter launch. Well, thank you so much. I'm glad. So I think that's probably wrapping it up for this week. Unless you got some other questions, I'll hang out for a half second while those pop up. But I think next time we'll be looking at some of the other things we've got in the pipeline too. We've got another cooperative game called Tesseract that we're going to be showcasing in a little bit as well. And I can't wait to start talking some more about our kind of tabletop tank game, which is called Boom Patrol, which, if you think about it, is kind of like Mario Kart meets the old Atari tank battle game. It's a blast, quite literally. You're about like blasting each other to bits as you roll over buildings and see what kind of fun prizes or hazards you hit. So, like more of all of those as we move forward. But for right now, thanks so much for watching. Again, you can like and subscribe and get notified when we go live again. And we will see you next time at Smirky Inside. Thanks so much. Bye bye.